Once we've completed the donor consent form, the next thing we need to do is get the donor to sign and date the 2 tamper-proof evidence seals. The collector could sign these, but I like to get the donor to sign it so that once the donor's left for a room, they can't then come back at a later date and say that you've changed, you know, you've opened the pots and you've put new seals on. So I like to get them to sign it and date it. So let's assume that we've got the donor now to sign both the tamper-proof evidence seals and dated them. We're now ready to take the urine and move it into the 2 vials. So we snap the lid off the pot and we decant it into the collection cup. You could try and pour the urine from this initial cup into the vial. However, it doesn't pour very well, where this has a pourer on the front, so I like to do that. There is a thermometer on the collection cup. However, you already know that the urine is body temperature when it was produced to you, so you don't need to worry about that. So we take the lid and we snap the lid open on both of these 2 vials. We have a minimum fill line here, and as long as we go up to that line on both vials, that means the laboratory will have enough to test the urine. So we simply decant the urine into each of these 2 pots, one there, snap the lid down shut and put the clasp on the front. And you do the same with the second sample. There's more in that one, but it doesn't matter as long as it's up to the line. So we now have urine in both vials. At this point here, once we've sealed the lids down firmly, we take the tamper-proof evidence seal and I'll take this one first, which has the letter A on it. I simply peel back the sticky plastic off the back. And the letter A goes right over the top of the pot, and then we fold that down either side. When you're doing these, make sure that you don't fold that down over the clasp. It has to go either side of the clasp, and then we repeat the process with the second sample, which has now become the B sample. Bit tricky sometimes when you're wearing gloves, but take your time. That one goes on there. What's really important here is the tamper-proof evidence seals shouldn't be torn or ripped or split at all. And if when the lab do get these samples, if they are split or ripped, then they'll just simply inform you that it's an invalid test because the tamper-proof evidence seals were broke at some point during the transfer process or the collection process. So once we have those in place, we now go back to the donor consent form, and what you'll notice on here are some barcodes along the top. These peel off, and I always put a barcode seal around the bottom of each of the pots. There. And there. Each of the barcodes are exactly the same, they have the same number on, so everything that we're now going to send off to the lab will all come back to the same barcode. So at this point here, we now have 2 vials with a urine in. We have the tamper-proof evidence seals on the top and then running down each side, and we have the barcodes as well. So from here, we take our transit bag. And what you'll find with the transfer bag, there are 2 parts to this. There's a large envelope at the back, and there's a smaller envelope in the front with some absorbent material in, and this is where the vials of urine are going to go. We're going to slide them into the front of the bag there. We're now going to take the donor consent form, and it tells you exactly what to do with each of those copies, each of these copies on the top. So the white laboratory copy, that's the first copy, we tear that off, we fold that up, and we now place that in the back of the transit bag so that the donor consent form for the laboratory and the urine are now in separate parts of the bag. Once we have both of those, we remove the film off the top there and we seal the contents of the bag. And we should do all this in front of the donor. The green copy is a medical review copy. If you have to have a copy that goes off to a medical review board or occupational health, then that's their copy and that goes off to them. The pink copy is the donor copy, so you give that to the donor. The blue copy is the collector's copy, and the yellow copy underneath are the company copy, so generally they would stay together. I would always, once I've done this, I would staple that to your initial donor consent form so you have everything in place. From here, we take your sealed bag with the urine in, we put it into the bubble wrap bag, and once again we remove the film, and we seal the bag down. From here we place all of this into the transit bag. We peel off the seal for the transit bag. We now seal that up. And we push it off to the lab. And that's how to take a chain of custody sample and send off to the laboratory.